We're hearing a lot about seed oils. Why should people be worried about these kind of products?
Seed oils are one of the most unhealthy ingredients that we have in foods. And the reason they're in the foods is because they're heavily subsidized. They're very, very cheap, but they are associated with all kinds of very, very serious illnesses, including body-wide inflammation.
Right.
Which affects all of our health. It's one of the worst things you can eat, and it's almost impossible to avoid. If you eat any processed food, you're going to be eating seed oil.
So you heard it from the head of the Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. Seed oils is one of the worst things you can put in your body. It causes systemic-wide inflammation, and it's basically the reason why your health is so bad. But is that true? Let's find out.
That is
Lara?
the question. Yes.
Give us the actual science. What do we know about seed oil?
So I think it's fascinating that among a lot of these topics that people are debating, that this one actually has pretty good research. But yeah, it doesn't seem like people are looking at the research as
Not
a
at all.
good degree. So, I mean, there's lots of different studies out there, but the American Heart Association Presidential Advisory, they concluded through a review of lots of different research that saturated fat, not seed oils, saturated fat, different type of fat, that if you can replace saturated fat with what we call polyunsaturated fats, which is what seed oils contain, that if we replace the saturated fat with these seed oil type fats, that we actually see a lower LDL cholesterol and lower cardiovascular disease risk. So why we are stating...
So first, saying it's one of the worst things to put in your body from a cardiovascular perspective.
Seems a little inaccurate.
Seems a little bit inaccurate.
A lot inaccurate.
Okay, that's 0 for 1 from that standpoint.
So there we are. There have been Cochrane reviews, which are big, wide studies that are very helpful for us, that has shown that reducing saturated fat, again, saturated fat, not seed oil fat, but replacing saturated fat for greater than 2 years can reduce cardiovascular events. So again,
from a cardiovascular standpoint, this does not sound like it's one
sense.
of the worst things to put in your body.
The fact that cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause of death in the United States, this seems to be a kind of big deal.
Absolutely.
I would say.
Now, funny enough, as we were going through the hard data on this, one of the direct claims of this exact video, which was saying that seed oils cause body-wide inflammation. Do we have any studies on that one?
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. So there's been systematic reviews, which if you listen to our last podcast, you will know what that means and why that's important. So go back and listen to that. But shows that omega-6 fatty acids, which is some of the fats in seed oils, do not increase inflammation markers in humans. So why is RFK Jr. saying what he just said, that we heard him say? And why is this such a prevalent topic in social media and beyond?
So I will unpack a little bit on this as we kind of go into the nuance of seed oils and take a one step back. I think it is important to convey, okay, there are what's called good fats and quote unquote bad fats. You and I both agree. Dichotomies, good, bad.
I don't like it.
Don't like it. Like, guys, we're not saying you have to eliminate saturated fat. It's in your best interest to prioritize, as we're going to go through it, omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids or polyunsaturated fatty acids or monounsaturated fatty acids before saturated fat. We both eat plenty of meat. We're not afraid of saturated fat, but it's something you should look to consider on limiting to limit your risk of atherosclerosis, which also, you didn't look up this study, but I've actually looked up this in the past because obviously with my dad being a doctor and especially a heart doctor in this whole bit. Funny enough, we have, like when someone says inflammation, like this grab bag term, like are we talking about like C-reactive protein? Are you talking, like there are different markers for inflammatory response. Exactly.
Like, what do you mean by that?
100%. And what's funny to me is the people who say seed oils cause inflammation. Number one, we have very limited data to suggest that. And number two, we have more data suggests saturated fat and overconsumption has worse inflammatory responses than seed oils, omega-6 fatty acids. So it's super funny to me how both of those points get actually flipped. We have more data suggest in randomized controlled trials where they dose controlled in humans saturated fat versus into seeing what inflammatory responses happened, and there were more increases in saturated fat than there was in seed oil. So it's super funny how not only does it seem to not be seed oils, but it actually seems to be
the opposite. Do you think that people that are saying, hey, seed oils are bad for you and cause inflammation aren't even thinking about saturated fat? They're just
saying
they're
seed
just
oils.
talking about seed oils. Like they're not even knowing what we're comparing things to.
And that's half the battle of going back to that process of like talking about healthier fats and not ideal fats. So number one, like, okay, we can all agree, omega-3 fatty acids.
Fantastic.
Greatest thing to prioritize. That's
Eat
your
more.
fatty fish, that's your olive oil, that's your avocados. Any other big ones that you would say in that mix?
Oh, I know.
Sardines, fatty fish, I kind of already said it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
Yeah, it's a good base. And then from that point, your nuts going into more monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fatty acids. You look at nuts, seeds, that kind of stuff. Your different oils. And then finally, you need to limit but not eliminate saturated fat, which is primarily meat.
yeah, essentially.
And again, it's not
Meat or dairy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
animal product. Like,
animal products. But the data does not suggest you need to eliminate saturated fat.
I'd say for the majority of people, I'm sure there are some cases of people with significant cardiovascular disease risk in their family with certain genetics that this may not apply to, but for the average American, I would say that is true.
The big thing about this whole bit, so like kind of now that everyone understands what kind of fats we're talking about and all this kind of stuff, where there is merit is when RFK Jr. talks about your hyper-processed foods. And it's not that, like as we kind of go into it, it's not that these hyper-processed foods that have seed oils are inherently bad for you. We'll unpack it a little more, but the fast one I want to hit on is deep frying food, okay? It is undeniable, guys. Deep frying just not good. It's not a good nutritious thing to do. Can you get away with it once or twice a month? Absolutely. You can.
I mean, I love fried chicken.
I love
eat it
chicken
much?
strips. I love French fries, and it's fine to have in some moderation. But there's plenty of data on this: heating and cooling the same oils, using these oils that are very calorically dense on a consistent basis. Number one, the calories in that problem where people get fatter because of how much calories you're consuming. And then number two, there is a problem with heating and cooling the same oil, cooking with it again and again and again. The oxidation and what it does to inflammatory response. That is true. And so what happens is you get this subtle nuance of truth, and then all of a sudden it gets completely taken out of consideration of everything else. But then you got this freaking, the implications of this, the Maha movement, is you have Steak and Shake going, we don't use seed oils for our French fries anymore. We use ghee and butter.
No, beef tallow.
It means nothing. You shouldn't be consuming that many deep fried foods. And we already have comparative control trials on the matter that like seed oils are healthier than saturated fat and those for consuming. But on top of it, it's just so trivial and annoying. But
Well, even a lot of the processed foods that have very little nutritional value, are high in sugar, are not giving you much for your health, those do have seed oils in them. But that doesn't make it the seed oils the necessary culprit in the health outcomes.
Now,
would you agree?
I would agree.
Thank you.
Why? Here's the question.
Yes.
I'm the social media guy.
You're
not.
I'm not a guy, nor am I an influencer.
But what I was going to go with that is, I have my recollection or my interpretation of why this is happening. Why do you think seed oils are the current fear-mongering rhetoric of people's health? Like, where do you think this comes from?
Where it came from?
Yeah, where do you think it comes from? You have any idea? I mean,
I truly don't. I mean, I remember last year I was talking to an acquaintance, and she mentioned something about this book I should read by Casey Means.
Oh, goodness.
she mentioned how it was talking about seed oil, like mentioned this part of it, that like seed oils and how bad they are for you. And I was like, I literally had never heard people talking about this last year. And she mentioned it to me. And I was like, I've got to look into this. I don't know what the thing is with seed oils. And so then I looked it up, and then since then it's like continues to gain traction. But so I literally don't know where it came from. I haven't even thought about that.
I mean, my angle is the rhetoric has been slowly building for a while now. But there's something about, for me, the carnivore community.
Oh, yeah.
I
you
think
did
they've
say that.
latched on heavy to it because they need it as a justification to say, I need to eat only meat. And somehow it's funny to me because, again, I eat plenty of meat, people. I limit my saturated fat consumption, but I eat plenty of meat. Can you agree I probably eat almost too much meat and not enough
David, well,
vegetables?
I don't know. I mean, we eat some vegetables together. You eat plenty of meat. We have actually started incorporating chicken thighs,
Yep. I was usually only a chicken breast guy,
which is awesome.
chicken titties, because it was just 3 or 4 grams of less fat in them. And for me, it's calories, protein, calories, protein. Now, it's important to know when we're looking at macronutrients and this whole bit, the hierarchy of importance, protein number 1, then fat, then carbs. Carbs are the least important from a physiological standpoint.
Doesn't mean we can't eat them.
Doesn't mean they're bad for you. Seek previous episodes where we talk about carb confusion. Super important to talk about. But it is that whole bit where it's like, so in my head, I always go towards that, like, all right, protein, healthier fats, and then total calories. And then you do get caught in the stigma around fat and this, not necessarily seed oils, but a tangent, which is like, fat is a lot more calorically dense, and so you're like a little more like concerned because it's a little easier from the caloric density standpoint. It's a lot easier to overconsume, which goes back into the point of this whole bit where I think a lot of the seed oil fear mongering comes from, is because RFK Jr. and a lot of these people, they're referring to Doritos, chips, cookies, hyper processed foods that are very calorically dense that people eat too much of. And because of the caloric density, they're getting fat. And because they're getting fat, they're having a bunch of health problems happen. But again, this is why the scientific method and controlling variables is so friggin' important. You assume, and people are assuming, it's the seed oils. No, it's not the seed oils. It's the total caloric consumption. And because of that overconsumption, it's leading to a lot of these problems. But when previous episode we just had, if you're not willing to stay objective, control your biases, and just look at the clinical evidence and the controlled studies so we can come to the strongest conclusion, it's very easy to create a fear-mongering narrative in your head, which is, oh, it's the seed oils. I'm like, well, change seed oils to something else. You shouldn't be eating a family-sized bag of Doritos every other night.
Exactly.
What do you want me to tell you?
Do you think if you asked most people what a seed oil was, they would even know?
Probably not. Actually, this is super funny. Part of the carnivore argument, but it's not even a carnivore argument, but it's just people that hate seed oils. They used seed oils as originally for engine lubricant. And I'm like, they do that with lard too. Like, it's not a very good lubricant, but it's better than nothing. And it's not ideal, but you can use water to cool your engine.
So it's
an engine coolant.
We can't drink that.
And like when you hear these people say this type of stuff, it's like water is an engine coolant, so we shouldn't have water. So people just make these little narratives, and it sounds like what they're saying has some type of like science to it, and it's just like, no, it's not what that means at all.
So you mentioned you believe some of this came from the carnivore community because they just believe.
Well, because my angle there is, in general, the data is pretty darn clear that swapping out saturated fat with seed oils, or ideally omega-3 fatty acids. Again, I'm even going to go one step further. And if you really want to play this game, even swapping out seed oils, I don't know if there's clinical research on it. I would assume there is. There's got to be comparative research as well that has done saturated fat to seed oils. But has there ever been studies done between seed oils and omega-3s?
I bet there has.
I want to know if the data shows the same kind of progression.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when you get to omega-3 fatty acids, they're super cardio protective. There's the anti-inflammatory response, which is obviously very good in general. Again, inflammation is not inherently bad, but if too much is bad. So
What does that even mean? Like, I feel like when people say inflammation, they're like, I feel bloated, I feel unhealthy. I don't know. I don't know what they think that means.
Well, that's always a funny one.
Are they getting their inflammatory markers checked? I know some people are.
Yep.
Are they really high? I would doubt it.
No one's getting it. Most of these people are not getting it. Like,
Oh, there's a lot of functional medicine doctors out there checking this stuff.
Yeah, that too. But even then, it's like it is weird to me how many people associate or say that bloating and inflammation are the same things. They're not the same thing.
But I think a lot of people, when they think inflammation, they're like bloating. That's a big. I think that's a big.
I agree. And like bloating is not inflammation.
No.
Like having a stomach bloat is not you're having inflammatory markers increasing in the blood and in the body. They're two completely different things. That's where, like, I think carnivores in particular, they always say inflammation's leaving my body because they went from like having, since they had like no fiber in their diet, there's not a lot of gas buildup in their intestines, which is not necessarily a good thing. But that bloat goes away, and so they're making their statement. Well, I'm leaner and I'm less inflamed because my stomach is flatter because I'm not eating much fiber, so I don't have as much gas. Because that is out there. Like, you eat more fiber, you're more gassy. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing unless you're Lara and I had too much protein that day.
Then I suffer. Is that what you're saying? You guys don't want to know more about that. All right. So why do you think there's so much fear placed on one food item all the time? Because I feel like it goes in waves.
Well, that's the whole thing, is people constantly like, and gosh, they always want it to be something that they can rationalize getting out of. Because the amount of people that are worried about seed oils, that are worried about aspartame, that are worried about gluten, but they're not worried about their toddies on the weekend is hysterical to me.
Or many other habits that are worse.
But that's the whole thing to me. It's like people will choose whatever fear of product that they can rationalize getting rid of because it makes them feel better that they're trying to help their health. And I do find it funny because sometimes it's warranted, like limit added sugar. Like, I think it's funny enough. I think everyone's kind of on that ballpark, except there was a whole craze there for a hot second from this dude on the internet. I can't remember his name, but there was this whole like sugar diet that was gaining traction, where it was like you only eat fruit and sugar for like 30 days, 60 days, and these people lose weight because of calorie deficit.
Well, see, that's the thing too. I think people half the time they're just talking about weight loss. Like, that's the health when they say it's healthier.
Exactly.
It's just about weight,
which is not always the case.
No.
And you get to the point where it's like, well, generally speaking, every 10% of body weight someone loses, because the majority of the population is overweight. They see cardiometabolic benefits. They see blood sugar benefits, all these things from that.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, it's just the caloric restriction and the fat loss. And from that, a lot of these benefits are happening. But again, going back to that point.
Yeah.
In general, everyone's like, added sugar probably should limit. Totally agree. Like, and when I say added sugar, it's like not friggin' apple.
No.
Even though there's no added sugar, it's brownies and cookies and regular pop and all the delicious succulents,
Candy,
stuff like that. And again, limit, not eliminate. But it's like people are okay with that one, but then there's certain ones where it's just like, well, I really don't want to give up my alcohol because it gives me all of what it helps me relax at night, or whatever their argument is, which actually makes your sleep quality worse. Sorry. All this kind of stuff, but it's the low-hanging fruit that someone can rationalize to then say, since I'm okay with giving this up, it makes me act like I'm helping my health, because they don't actually want to hit the major hitters.
No, they don't. I mean, I had a recent patient who wanted help with weight loss. She was perimenopausal, menopausal. And I'm telling her a lot of the things that we talked about with Joey on our prior podcast episode about menopause and fat loss. So I'm going through nutrition, exercise, sleep, reducing alcohol, all these things. And she was kind of like, well, isn't there something like faster and easier? Like, literally, she was like, she didn't like my answers. And so I think it's the people that they want this faster, they want it easier. It's like, ooh, let's just focus on something like seed oils and focus on how bad they are, and then not have to think about all the habit changes that they need to make to actually improve their health.
Actually live a healthy lifestyle.
It was really
Wait,
fascinating.
You're telling me it's not just the seed oils. I have to prioritize 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. I have to eat my zero point 0.7 to my goal body weight in protein per day. I have to get 40 to 60 grams of fiber a day. I should prioritize whole foods instead of boxes and bags. I have to compound lift 3 to 4 days a week. I have to average 10 to 12,000 steps per day. I should get some good quality sunlight, but not too much sun. And I have to do all of that while probably should eliminate alcohol. No.
Like,
That's too much.
Isn't there another option?
Can't you just tell me just stop eating seed oils?
And she didn't ask that. But yes, it's that kind of thing. Like, I don't want to do that stuff. I'm like, but that's what's going to work.
Yeah, and just that whole bit of like people just want the scapegoat. Like they distract themselves for the low-hanging fruit to make themselves feel like they're trying. Because the really meat and potatoes, no pun intended, hard stuff it's not even hard. It's like
It's just making change.
you have to make changes. The actual stuff that has the best clinical research substance aren't sexy and clickbaitable, and
Nope.
no one's
It's
really
the
caring
boring,
about the boring
stuff you know you should do.
Yeah.
So let's get on it, people.
Yeah.
But I think that I agree with you that there's always the scapegoat, and that there's always something new out there. And this is just the current one. I wonder what the next one will be.
Seed oils is the current trend.
And I feel like a lot of these conversations we're having on this podcast come down to the same thing, that people are so black and white about this topic, because we're running through this topic of seed oils, but you could probably talk for hours on this, about this minutia of the research and this and that. And so it's not that easy. You can't just blame seed oils and call it a day. Like, there's so much nuance. Yeah. So if you're listening to someone on social media with these black and white statements, you're probably not getting very good advice.
Perspective of where I'm not concerned, because like we said, one of the issues that seed oils has put itself in a position of, because as RFK said, it is subsidized. Okay, seed oils are just cheaper because from a clinical research standpoint, it's better than saturated fat. Like, it's a better alternative,
and just because,
and not over-consuming.
Yeah, well, and just saying it's subsidized does not inherently make it bad either. No. Like, there could be problems there. I get that, but that does not mean it is bad for you.
Yeah, and the whole idea makes it cheaper. So like, and then cheaper, just because, and the whole angle of that is, since it's cheaper, people overconsume it. Well, and it's an overconsumption problem.
Well, I was to say, well, and if you start making food more expensive, people are gonna scream,
freak out.
I mean, people hate spending money on food already, and you think we're gonna make it more expensive with all? I mean, we are, with changing the food dyes, and I mean, it's just
the low-hanging fruit stuff.
That's going to be what people complain about.
Well, and that's where I was going with the seed oils conversation. So like, again, in general, it's in everyone's best interest, from that even I work on to this day, because I love convenience. I love boxes and bags because of convenience. But even Lara's getting me to eat more of my own cooked fruits and vegetables. It's happening slowly. Okay, not fruits, but vegetables and legumes. But you should limit boxes and bags in general, because those types of foods, they're thinking about, how do I make it as tasty as possible? So the combination of the highly refined carbohydrates mixed with the salt, mixed with the fats, all of it together, who eats the serving size of a family bag of Doritos? Nobody. They eat a half a bag of a family size, and they assume a half a bag is a half a serving. And no, it's probably like 30 servings in that bag. You just had 20. And so that is an issue, but it's not the seed oils. And it's like, for example, like, I love Quest chips, trying to get that crunch, trying to get that that texture of a chip, but at a higher protein, lower calorie play. Guess what is in Quest chips?
Seed oils.
I don't know if the camera or the mic. Seed oil. But In that bag, I don't know off the top of my head. It's probably like 2 or 3 grams of fat, maybe. I mean, again, the whole thing is like 150 calories, and it's 20 grams of protein. So that means like there's 2 or 3 grams ish
Sure.
of fat in it. And so, like, am I worried about 3 grams of seed oils?
No.
No, absolutely not. For the serving size, for everything. Now, if that bag turned into a Doritos and instead of one serving of 150 calories, it was 1,000 calories,
That'd be an
then
issue.
it can become concerning over time. That is being intellectually consistent and contextually honest with seed oils and the angle that is they can be harmful. Again, it's not the seed oils, it's eating too many chips in a huge caloric density that makes you fat. That can be a problem.
Any other points you want to talk about before we wrap up with takeaways?
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's a pretty straight, simple episode. I knew it was going to be, because again, it's just talking about seed oils, and it comes down to, guys, stop looking for a gremlin. Like,
Yep.
they're fine.
Yep.
So for you, what are your big takeaways?
I think the takeaways are to not focusing on one ingredient all the time, but let's look at our pantry as a whole and say, what kind of foods do we have in here? Are we looking at highly processed foods? Like you said, the things in bags. Now, not everything in a bag is bad, but looking at taking stock of what we typically eat on a daily basis and looking at that not as these individual ingredients and pulling them out.
And that same mantra is like the whole idea of just focusing on the word toxic. Like this, in general, if something is in our food supply and someone directly calls it toxic, they're probably sensationalizing the reality. So if you are often saying the word toxic and then putting that with food, you may want to just take a step back, and from a perspective of faith and mindset and mental health, promoting healthy behaviors and life and vitality is a great thing to do. Fearing everything that goes into your body, like, again, like the amount of people that live in a constant state of fear, from the food they're eating to this to that, like biblically and obviously, like, there's a lot there. It's just like, stop being so afraid. Everyone's just freaking out all the time, and just chill. It'll be fine.
So if you're out there hearing about seed oils and you're worried if you should start being concerned, don't just take that at face value. Do your research and realize that not everything that's trendy on Facebook or Instagram, or I don't know what people are using, TikTok, Snapchat. I don't know. You do this stuff. Not all of it is true, people.
And if you want to know more on how to do research, watch the previous episode where I even kind of go into the nuance of systematic
Skims the
reviews,
surface.
meta-analysis. I start to explain a little bit how you should look at study design.
We're going to rush back to it.
Yes, it's so hot learning. I sent Lara a video today of when I was doom scrolling on TikTok for a hot second. It was teaching the engineering basics behind how these big rollers that roll out asphalt use first they used single oscillating systems to help create 60,000 pounds of force on these rollers to help really compact the ground. But the problem was that one oscillation was not rhythmic. It wasn't smooth enough, so it created a ripple. So it was too much ripply. So they had to do double oscillation and how that smoothed it out. And now I learned how double oscillation in a asphalt roller works. I a nerd.
I love it. Learning is cool, people. Learn about seed oils. Don't just take what people tell you at face value, I would say. Anything to add?
You're all smarter because now you know how an oscillator works on a.
I've not watched this video yet. It's going to be the next thing I do after we finish the podcast.
Did you know that?
So if you are out there and you have questions, or if you want to debate us back, please
Please, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it.
DM Vitals and Values podcast on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Can you DM on YouTube? I don't know.
Guys, have any conversations you want us to have about the newest Vogue stuff?
Yeah, tell us.
Tell us. It'll be here. Have a phenomenal day, and we'll talk to you all later.
All right, bye.